everybody. My name is Jessica Gray, and I'm the lead literacy consultant with Step Up Consulting. And I'm really excited today to go through our RSP fast tracking tool, kind of give you the why behind it and show you some of the updates that we've made in 2025 and some of the updates we hope to continue to make for this tool as we move through this year. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the why behind the tool. It's always important, I think, to know why something came about. But this tool was actually developed in the field. I was working as a Title I reading teacher at the time for a district, and Shauna, our founder, came to our school and did a curriculum management tool training with us and really opened our eyes to the fact that we were unintentionally missing a lot of standards based on the resources we were using. And we weren't covering a lot of the reading standards that we needed to be covering within some certain grade levels. And so it really brought this awareness to, if I want to help my kids be fast tracked through that reading gaps that they're missing, I need to go back to the standards and really focus in on what were they missing. And I felt like that was probably the case for a lot. And so I talked with Shauna, and she worked with me that year to really help develop and refine this tool. And we've just tried to develop and make it better as people have used it this last school year, and make some improvements and adjustments to it to really help kind of refine your process of writing your RSPs. This tool is really aimed to help fast track that process. When I was first in it, we were spending a lot of time in that writing realm, and we were not getting to intervention. And I wanted a process to make that go a little bit faster. So we weren't so focused heavy on the process and the work behind it, but I wanted to make sure that my interventionist and my teachers were spending as much time as possible with kids doing the work is what we wanted to focus on, and less on the paperwork side. This tool is going to help provide some consistency among your staff and teachers. We know that, especially if we have a variety of levels of service and veterans, new teachers, old teachers, we're going to have a lot of different looking goals depending on how and who are writing them. And so this tool was aimed to kind of help that consistency in language across the board, so that if we looked at a plan in one classroom, the language was going to match the language in another classroom. So it wasn't confusing for families. This is really going to help enhance some instructional time for your teachers and really drill in on those specific skills students are lacking by linking them with our MAT tools. So our Missouri Assessment and Teaching Tools are an amazing product that are going to help teachers be able to really develop and understand the standard that or skill that students are lacking, and really focus in on that in small group and give them some ideas for there. And we'll explore that today. And then it's just some aids in that communication. Part of our tool is really focusing on who needs to know about RSPs and what do they need to know about them, and kind of helping give some organization tips for your district as you're navigating through this process. So we're going to start by talking about what the tool can't do. This tool was not designed or able to qualify your students. You're still going to give them all of those foundational reading assessments that we're required to give through the state, and that's your screener. And then you're going to want to give them some other information too, like our screener is going to let us know, hey, our kids are qualifying, but now we really need to hone in on exactly what skills that they're lacking in and we need to address. It's not going to be able to determine who needs an RSP. You will have to take all of your data that your teachers and your district has gathered on those students and utilize that in our tool. So you're going to take that data and help write a well-developed plan to hopefully see some growth within your students. And it's not going to replace the knowledge of your students. So you have final say. You know exactly what your students need based on your data you're collecting. So always make sure you refer back to your hopefully your large gathering of data on your students with RSPs, and really making sure that you're utilizing that to really drive the writing piece. This is just hopefully going to help simplify it. Let's talk about what the tool can do. So this tool is really going to bring a focus to the Missouri Learning Standards in the area of reading and writing, and it's going to really focus on those 5 pillars. We tried to make those connections between what we know we're learning in letters training and all the great things that science of reading is telling us. We want to connect those with our standards, because that is what is qualifying our kids, that lack of knowledge and ability in some of these areas. And so we're showing, trying to show a strong connection between those two things. We're also hoping to empower teachers with this ability to provide high quality instruction. at the student's level. We know that right now we're seeing a lot of fourth and fifth grade students with RSPs, and we have teachers that maybe have never taught foundational reading skills or taught in the K-1-2 areas. But with the linking to our MAT tools, teachers are going to seamlessly be able to see and understand what it is that kids are struggling with and what can they be doing in small group to help boost their reading scores. And then we're going to hopefully bring a lot of clarity and continuity among your staff. Things are going to look the same, sound the same, language and conversations are going to be the same. So it's just going to have a lot of clarity when we're talking about your RSPs as a district. And it's hopefully going to take some of that guesswork out of the writing and help ease the burden on your teachers or staff, whoever is writing these tools. So let's talk about some of the updates we've made. In 2025, we really took a lot of feedback. We had our tool released in 2024, and we had several school districts utilize that and give us really great feedback on what was working and what could be improved. And so we really worked over the last year trying to even add to what we already was a robust goal bank, but we added even more, including several supporting standards to our goal bank this year into our updates that we're going to look at. And part of that too was adding supporting standard templates just to give your teachers an idea of, even for those supporting standards, if we're choosing those to really drive our RSP goals, that what do they mean? What does proficiency look like, and what should my kids be doing for that standard? So you're going to have a link to even supporting standard tools, which is really great. We reorganized how we were labeling and grouping our goals. The first year we started this, we did them by grade level so that teachers could kind of see where students were. We reorganized and decided that we thought it would be best fit to reorganize them by your qualifying area. So we're going to look a little bit into that. So you'll notice the tabs down at the bottom are going to be organized by phonemic awareness and phonics and fluency. And within that, you're going to see those standards, grade level standards, and how that they move from grade level to grade level. I think this is the way we've reorganized. It's really giving teachers a good roadmap and a visual of, if my students are struggling in this area, where are we going to and what's coming next once they master those skills they're missing. And then we're going to have some feedback driven and streamlined templates. So we got a lot of feedback on our template, and we made some really neat updates to it to kind of make that simple, more simplistic for your staff, making sure that people know where to copy paste things that need copy and paste just to make that easier. And then we also made it into a larger font. So there's lots of customizations and a larger font to make it a little bit friendlier when it comes to printing for families. Some of the things, if you decide to move forward and purchase our tool, you will have 1 year's worth of access to a cohort, which is a cohort that meets several times a year. We really focus in on trying to help you maintain your timelines for RSP, all things RSP. We also go through, and really it's a collaborative space for you to be able to ask questions, ask people what's working for them in their district. What are people doing for small group? How are people addressing XYZ? It's just a great spot for you to be able to collaborate with some other peers as well as talk about the tool. So I'm always on those cohorts, leading them, and we just talk about if there's anything you need help or assistance with when it comes to your tool. There's guided support videos that your teachers are able to access, lots of resources and things for you to be able to utilize to help maximize your tool and the use of it. And then you'll always have continual support from a consultant. More than likely, it's me. I have Sarah Rail who helps me behind the scenes some with my RSP stuff. And so sometimes she might be the one to answer, but we're always here to help you. If you ever need any assistance when it comes to your tool or updating or looking at anything that in regards to your tool. All right, so let's check it out. You receive your tool in a Google, we share it with you in a Google folder. What I have up here is just an example of how we recommend maybe sorting and organizing your templates by graduating class, so that you're not continually having to move kids from folder to folder or teacher to teacher. But if you keep them by graduating class, it just kind of moves with them and you can update them as you go and as they continue on their learning journey with you. The main three documents you're going to receive are these right here. And so we're going to talk about this first sheet. This is a core data tracker. So the idea here is that you have an administrator or someone who is trying to make sure all of our students are getting reported the way they need to be reported into core data. And so we've got this great timeline here for February reporting and June reporting cycle for each grade level. When was their initial RSP started? And then all the things they must report. So we've got these drop downs that match exactly what the state is saying has to be reported on that core data. Reporting cycle in February and then also in June. It looks a little different. Dyslexia isn't necessarily reported in June, I don't think. I think I'm not really sure when your district reports that, but there's always going to be a section for dyslexia. And we know if a student is flagged for dyslexia, they're going to have an RSP. So I always wanted to have that reflected here so that that information can also be reported too. But there's one for each grade level. We can add grade levels for you as they start to move through the system. As they get older and they're continuing with their RSP journey, we can always add those on there for you. But this is a great thing to share with your core data person, the person who's actually entering that data, especially in June when everyone's gone for the summer and everybody's wondering what are we supposed to report and what student gets what. This is just going to help streamline that process and make sure all of your reporting gets done and make sure the kids that needs reported with specific things gets done. The next thing we're going to look at is our goal bank. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It's always best with our tool. I tried to make the font big, especially when you print, but it makes viewing it a little scary. So sometimes we want to always zoom out to view. But always you're going to have this start page where it has the tips and tricks on our training site. So there's always our guided videos are here. Vertical progressions is what we start with. This is a really great tool before your staff starts the writing process. So you've given your foundational reading assessment screener, and they are telling you, hey, we're seeing flags in phonemic awareness. And now we want to give those diagnostic screeners. What are something more that we can pinpoint exactly what skills our students are struggling with? And so we can use that data and come here and say, okay, where are we living on that reading continuum? So I know students start off with vocabulary and comprehension through speaking and listening. We move into that print or awareness and orthography, phonemic awareness and phonics. So we can really look here and say, if I've got students qualifying in phonemic awareness, let's start there. Let's look at phonemic awareness and see how it builds from grade level to grade level. We know that there's not a lot of standards here. And so we're going to look through and say, gosh, my kids, according to that diagnostic screener, they're identifying sounds in spoken words. They're producing rhymes in spoken words, but gosh, we're not distinguishing orally present and rhyming pairs. So this is where I might want to start. So it's going to help your teachers pinpoint kind of where they want to begin in their goal writing to make sure we're not skipping any skills that they may need throughout their time and their journey. So they can start here and then they have a roadmap. So if this is where we're going to begin with our goal, we're going to keep looking forward. So once we master this goal, we're going to move to the next one. And then we're going to keep moving forward, trying to move them through to get them where they need to be when it comes to their specific area of need. The next sheet over is a skills progression. I like this as a whole because it really kind of just groups together the things that they're learning per grade level. So you've got your phonological skills here, grades K3, and then you've got those orthographic and phonetic connections. So what are they learning? So according to our standards, students should have mastered short vowel, CBC, CCVC, all of these areas. So when I give those diagnostics and I can decide, hey, my kids they can read these words, but we're really struggling with long vowel, short vowel. I'm going to start looking in first grade and deciding what skills do they need to help me build that roadmap. The other things you're going to see throughout this tool is our goal bank. That's kind of the big thing that draws our attention here is this goal bank. And so you've got a goal bank for every single qualifying area, and we've added a couple more just to give you some more ideas of things that students need and skills they need to have to be able to be good readers and writers. And so the first one's phonemic awareness. You're going to see always at the top headers to tell you you've got your editable goals, you've got your editable intervention plan, and then your standards are listed on this side. Phonemic awareness especially we don't have a lot of standards that cover that, and we know how important that is. And many of our kids are qualifying in K and one. So we looked at the past test and some of the research that they have done, and tried to develop some other skill sets that they need per grade level or developmental level. So those are all going to be seen in blue. Those are those developmental expectations that we pulled from the past. There are no phonemic awareness standards past first grade, but we know that students still really struggle with that moving forward into second and third. And so there's just some more ideas here of things you can do to help get your kids to that advanced range and feel like they're very confident in phonemic awareness. You're going to notice too on all of them on the side, while we have it grouped by phonics, you're going to see them also grouped by grade level. So you can see that continuum, that map. You're going to be able to go through and see, gosh, do they have all of these skills mastered? And the next, our when we first developed our tool, the intention was never to give students um, standards that were necessarily in the grade level they resided in. So if I had a second grade student, I wasn't giving them second grade goals unless they were ready for those. I was giving them goals based on where their lack of area of need was. But this was a great tool for us when we were utilizing it and developing it to realize, hey, if I have the majority of my second graders who are qualifying in phonics, and they're qualifying based on this kindergarten or first grade standard. Maybe that all of your kids are really struggling with identifying letters for short and long vowels, or maybe we're not doing syllabication quite right. And that's where we seem to be having the consistent struggle when it comes to that phonics qualifications. We can really take a step back and help this also utilize our tier one. Like, what is a big gap that all of my kids are missing? We should start addressing that in our tier one. Yes, we're going to keep doing it in tier two, right? Because they're not in first grade anymore. They're now second graders. But this is just going to be an added tool for you to really look at the data and say, hey, lots of our kids are having goals in this particular area based on our diagnostic assessments. We really should be taking a look at our tier one. How can we improve that area? So just another added bonus to doing that and keeping the thought and mentality behind the grade level. None of the goals are actually, they don't have anything listed for that grade level in particular. They're just the goal written based on that skill that we're wanting them to maximize. But I just think it's always important for us to keep in the back of our mind, where are our kids and what can we be doing to push them forward? The other great thing about your tool is that you're going to notice that all of our priority standards are highlighted in yellow. So these are priority standards for grade levels. Those are all going to be linked for their goals. They're going to be linked to student scales, which are really great for your teachers as they're working through. Can my students perform these level two processes? Are we maximizing our level three? And that's going to help them build an idea of what they should be doing in small group with their kids. I want to pull some decodables that focus on these skills. I want to make sure I've got processes and I'm giving opportunity for kids to decode words in context and identify those long and short vowels. It's just really going to help your teachers build a robust intervention plan also along with that to make sure that they're meeting those kids' needs and their skills. The intervention plans are all linked to our assessment and teaching tools, our MAT tools. So this is going to give your teachers even more ideas. So if we are working on the standard of decoding words in context using letter sound knowledge, here's some things I should be saying and doing in group to see if they can do that. Here's some guiding questions. Here's some processes. We're going to look at vowel charts, and we're going to make sure that we are using the things that we know science of reading is guiding us towards. We want to make sure we're using vowel valleys, and we're using sound boxes, and we're tapping words, and we're doing all the things, making sure we're giving kids manipulatives. There's lots of resources here for your teachers too, whether it's a video for students, a video for them if they're unsure of what some of those things need to be. There's printables and things that they can utilize in small group just to kind of help ease that burden of the planning. So what is it we want them to be doing? We want to really focus on that intervention, and hopefully these MAT tools will help them expedite that system when it comes to their small group instruction and moving them forward. A couple of the things we added this go around was orthography and syntax. There's a lot of print awareness that happens that's so vital for kindergarten. We know kindergarten, first grade, their qualifying areas are phonemic awareness, but We also know that spending 30 minutes of instructional time in small group for phonemic awareness may not be the best fit. We know that if kids are struggling in phonemic awareness, they're probably also struggling in identifying upper and lowercase letters. So these are just great added bonus things that you can include. So yes, we want our overall goal and arching idea for our K1 kiddos to be phonemic awareness, but we can add some other goals there too. We want to give them 2 or 3 goals that's going to expedite their learning, and we can come here and get some of those ideas. Maybe we're not sequencing very well. This is a big indicator in dyslexic students. They really struggle with sequencing letters of the alphabet. And so we could come here if I know I have a kid that's struggling, and this is what I want to focus on with them to help make sure that they are moving forward in their learning journey. And we also added syntax. We know that reading and writing go together. So I always encourage my teachers to try and form that and make sure they're giving opportunity for students to exhibit their thinking of their reading through writing and try and make those connections for them. But there's just some writing goals we added here too that have to do with syntax and speaking and all the things we know that are going to benefit them in that language realm. The last thing I want to show you of our tool is our template. We have people that utilize our template. We also have people that just utilize the goal bank. This is just here for you if you want to use it, if you're struggling to find a template that's working for you. We got a lot of feedback from a lot of districts on things they were looking for and hoping to have within a template. And so we just kind of created a robust, customizable template. I will say that this is customizable. You can change, add, delete any of the things that you that don't fit for your district, but all of the drop downs you see are going to be customizable. You can add to those. There's lots of spots here for things that your student has that we might want to record. The intervention plan has got check boxes because maybe you've got students that are in the classroom and out of the classroom. It's just an opportunity for you to reflect what's happening with them during their intervention, how frequently that they're being met with, what's the duration, and who's providing those interventions, just to give your parents and your data teams an idea of what are we doing intervention-wise for our students. There's a section here for your foundational reading assessment, talking about that growth goal in regards to your reading assessment. How do we want them to grow? What are we looking for their typical growth goal and their stretch growth? We know our students that are behind, we really want to stretch that growth that they're making and those strides they're making on those foundational reading assessments, because we know that's what's closing the gap if they're meeting those stretch growth goals. And then a place to actually record what was their growth for the year in their foundational reading assessment. And then you've got your reading targets. These are those goals that we found that you can copy and paste from. I'll show you an example. I'll pull this back up. But the idea is it's color coded for your teachers so that once we know by our diagnostic screeners, if we've got a goal we want to do in phonemic awareness, we're going to come here and we're going to take that goal and we can just copy and paste it here into our template. So it's ready to go. And then we can come back and grab that intervention and do the same thing so that we're going to be able to really have a good idea of, oh my goodness, it's very easy. We're just going to copy and paste that over, mark phonemic awareness as our goal, and then keep adding to. There's spaces here also so that if they meet this goal throughout the year, which we're hoping, right? We want kids to have multiple goals throughout the year because that means they're making good progress. They're making gains towards being on grade level for reading. So if they meet this goal and master it, we can mark it, and then we can keep moving forward down here and adding goals as we go through. And it's just a great visual for your parents and your teachers to see, hey, are we meeting our growth targets? How is that going through and moving through? There's a section here for communication and letter to your parents, a place for them to sign, and then all these drop downs for your for recording your communication piece. So you want to record a phone call, letter home, all the things are here for you to record. These again are all customizable. So if you have particular things that you're sending home with parents, you can customize that to add that to the drop down. And then the last section of our template is that progress monitoring. So we can come down here and we can copy and paste our goal from the top from our growth target and put it right down here. We can mark what our benchmark or our diagnostic assessments telling us for using DIBELS or for using iReady extension assessments or whatever we're using to really track in and hone in those specific skills students are learning and growing in. We can have spots to mark those. Did they meet the goal after our intervention time? And then our targets. I love this section because what teachers can do here if they're struggling with what do I need to work on with students? Well, if it's being able to produce rhymes and spoken words, we should come here and say, all right, in my group of kids, do they do this? Can they understand that rhyming occurs when words end and sound in the same sound? Do they know the difference between beginning and ending sounds? They can just take these directly from our template and come back and paste those in there. And now they've got their intervention targets. They know what they're going to be doing in small group. They know what they should be structuring their time for. And then they can keep track. Do they meet their target? Are they able to do this out of so many times I've asked them? And if they've met it, then we're going to move on to the next one. When they meet that one, we'll move on. And then when they meet all those basic processes, we can come back to those level threes. This is going to show us, do they have mastery? And so then we can put these on here and say, all right, now I'm going to move through these. Are we moving through and actually doing these things? Am I giving students opportunity and then keeping track of meeting those targets as they go through? And there are lots of spots here for you to be able to, when you have more than one goal, so you'll be able to put goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and then as they meet those goals, if your goal is met, we're just going to mark yes, and then we just move on to the next one. So it's all in one spot, so you're really able to keep track easily. The idea here in using a Google Sheet versus a Google Doc for your template is that one of these sheets should be for one student. So you can make your student name here and put the school year. So if it's 2025, 2026, the next school year, you're going to be able to come through and hopefully have a blank document, but we're going to make another. You can duplicate. We don't want to duplicate and do the same. We always have to look back at that foundational reading assessment they take every year, but you're going to be able to add another sheet here and then just change the school year. So you're going to have 26, 27 for the next time. And then you're going to have all of your data for a student in one spot, which is going to be amazing for data team meetings. It's going to be great if we're looking into should we be qualifying or recommending sped testing if students aren't making the progress. We can go through and track what have we done for progress, what have we done for intervention, what's worked, what's not worked, and just have it all in one spot, which is sometimes kind of the struggle with data is we got things all over the place, but doing it this way can really help you hone in on keeping your students' data all in one spot. Well, that is all for today for us. And I am really thrilled that if you were watching this replay, please let me know if you have questions or you're like, hey, I want to pull my staff in and do a live demo. Shoot me an email at the email listed below, and we will make sure that you have got access to a demo. And we cannot wait to talk to you and hopefully help you out with some of the work that you're doing with students this year. Have a great day.